Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and this is Fragrance Friday. Even if it's not Friday when you see this, I wanted to talk a little bit about my current favourite summer fragrances, even though we haven't had a very wonderful summer so far, and I haven't been anywhere very hot this year, but I live in Hope, and I definitely do have a summer fragrance wardrobe for different events. So let's talk through it. The first fragrance I want to talk about is my all-time favourite hot, sunny, seaside holiday, abroad really, fragrance. I just never wear this at home. It is definitely a holiday fragrance, and almost a kind of tropical holiday fragrance, but I just have to sniff this to have so many good memories of holidays. And it's Creed Virgin Island water. It's ridiculously expensive. I only ever buy it duty free, but this is probably, I think, my third bottle, and as I say, I only wear it on holiday and only certain sorts of holidays. The reason for that is it's what's described as a sweet citrus coconut fragrance, and it's the coconut that will strike you, because it's definitely very obvious there, but very well done. I'm not one of these people who actually likes many of the beachy fragrances that are about. I've tried the Estee Lauder Sun Goddess fragrances that people rave about so many times, and they just don't do it for me. The same with Tom Ford's beachy release this year, which I was expecting to love, had rave reviews. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it. I'm not that fond of the smell of suntan lotion, so I guess that's part of it, because a lot of these typically generically summer fragrances are very kind of suntan lotion based. Then you kind of have the Oceanics, which were very popular in the 90s and kind of make you think of water and so forth. And some of them I like, but generally I'm not so keen on that. This one, I suppose it just smells like a gorgeous cocktail, which is right up my street. But you don't want to smell of a cocktail much of the time. But when you're on holiday, or when you want just a sniff of something that transports you to the Caribbean, this is it. I think the notes are white bergamot, lime, mandarin, copra, which is the inside of a coconut, jasmine, hibiscus, ginger, and sugar. And you definitely get the citrus, the kind of subtle citrus of lime, the coconut for sure. I think the jasmine is there along with the ginger and the sugar. You need to have a sniff of it, because it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I really do love it for the pure holiday fragrance. At the other end of the scale, when it's very hot and I'm working, I do like to have something that makes me feel cool and fresh and in control, and is summery, but at the same time is work appropriate. And for me, very often, that is White Linen by Estee Lauder. This is a 70s fragrance, I believe, the late 70s. It was created, and it's a floral aldehyde, so no surprises that I'm going to like it, because I tend to like aldehydic fragrances a lot. That's why I love Chanel fragrances so much. It's definitely a white flower aldehyde fragrance with green notes. It also has on me quite good longevity, which again is why I like it as a work fragrance, that I don't have to worry about reapplying, but know that I smell nice because it lasts well on my skin. I have to say I'm less of a fan, although I still like the more recent versions of this. This is a vaguely vintage version, I think certainly the 90s, so I tend to buy on eBay rather than at the store, and I've never had a dud so far. And it's definitely my favourite work summer fragrance, although I will say I wear 1932. I've talked about that before a lot in the summer at work, and also Number 5 Eau Premiere, which again I've talked about before, so I'm not going to talk about those again, but they're work appropriate fragrances. And then a kind of all-round fragrance is the sort of citrusy eau de cologne type fragrance. And I've got two in my wardrobe at the moment, my fragrance wardrobe. I've had various ones over the years, things like Annick Goutal's Eau d'Adrian and Acqua di Parma's Colonia Absolute. I'm particularly upset that Acqua di Parma, which I wore for a number of years in the summer and liked a lot, but I loved most of all, they used to do an oil for the bath in the fragrance, which was just glorious. It was expensive, it lasted forever, but I love baths and I love oil in them. And they seem to have stopped making it. I can't get it anywhere. It's all now shower gel or bath gel, which is just not the same. I guess they're doing it for reasons of price, but it's a real shame. Anyway, I haven't got any of that anymore. I did buy last summer Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino, which I've used a fair bit. And I like it. I mean, it's a unisex, obviously. Most of these citrus colognes are. I'm finding I don't love it this year. It's quite sharp for me. A lot of people who write about say it's very complex. I don't find it so, really. I mean, it just smells like a basic, more masculine than feminine eau de cologne. I mean, it's got a formidable list of notes, and you can definitely get the ubiquitous bergamot and citrus and orange. It's said to have amberette in it, which is often a note I don't like, so that might be giving the slightly bitter sharpness to it that I'm getting. Said to have lavender, and I can see that might be giving it a little bit of woody depth. It is nice, but this year I'm finding I am liking far more this year's purchase, which is Chanel's Eau de Cologne, just called Eau de Cologne. I really put off even sniffing it in the shop because I thought, oh, Eau de Cologne, it's so boring. It's a bit like 4711 we had when I was a child. And then I smelt it and I really, really like it. It's not a particularly new one. It's 2007. It's Jacques Polge, a citrus aromatic. And, it's an Eau de Cologne, but it's somehow sweeter than many eau de colognes, certainly much sweeter than the Neroli. I can see that, whilst eau de cologne is plainly unisex, this to me smells more feminine than a lot of them. It actually reminds me of champagne for some reason. I mean, champagne doesn't really smell, and you wouldn't want to smell like booze, but it's got that kind of bubbliness in the bergamot and the citrus. It's got petitgrain in it, which I think is giving it its kind of lighter woodiness rather than the lavender in the Neroli Portofino. And it just smells softly sparkly rather than kind of sharp citrus. So I really like it. It hasn't got brilliant longevity. That's the only drawback. That's true with quite a few of the Chanel exclusives, I fear, which is a shame, but I do like it. And then for evenings, one of my favourite summer fragrances is back to Tom Ford, the Champaca Absolute. I've had this a couple of years and you can't really see in the bottle, but it's actually only about a quarter down. So that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, this, which I bought last year, I've used more, partly because it, again, hasn't got great longevity and you have to kind of keep respraying it, whereas the Champaca, a couple of sprays and you're good for the entire evening. Now, this is a sweet floral, and it's very, very sweet indeed, I think. It's got quite boozy ingredients. I think we're getting a common theme here, bergamot on the one end and booze with a bit of coconut at the other end. This has cognac notes, vanilla, amber, along with the bergamot Champaca, which is a kind of magnolia, I think, violet, and the ubiquitous summer jasmine. It's a beautiful, rounded, mellow floral. Definitely very sweet and heady, which is why it's really kind of an evening perfume for me. And it has quite a good silage and quite a good longevity on me. And I will say, it reminds me a little bit of Chanel's beige, although I can remember I've looked up the notes for beige and they don't have the kind of boozy notes that this one has. And this definitely smells headier, but kind of in the same very pretty, sweet but not sickly floral range. So that makes it a kind of beautiful evening summer fragrance. So, I should mention, I talked about this in spring in Fleur de Chanel. I haven't used this as much recently. This is very much more kind of lighter floral, but again, perfectly suitable for the summer. So, yeah, those are my favourite summer fragrances, certainly this year, and looking forward to having some decent weather to wear them in, really, but one can only live in hope. So I'd love to hear if any of you have any summer favourites in particular, and until next time for Fragrance Friday, bye for now.